Welcome, Algebra 1. This is section 2, 3, and 2, 4, solving multi-step equations. The essential question is, why can't you combine like terms on different sides of the equal sign? Let's begin. So, the last two sections we've been talking about this reverse order of operations to isolate variables. It's all about isolating the variable. And then we said there was a few extra things that you do before you do the reverse order of operations. And the first one we talked about was this, the fractions. Now there's three other ones that we're going to talk about today. Distributing, combining like terms, and variables on one side. These are all things you should do before you do the subtract and add and divide and multiply. So let's begin. First thing is distribute. So when do you distribute? When there's something that you can distribute, you distribute. And what those look like is when you have a number being multiplied by something in parentheses, like this case, negative 8 times the quantity 2x minus 1. So that negative 8 can be distributed to both terms, distributing to the 2x and to the negative 1. So what happens is that turns into negative 16x plus 8 equals 36. And now I can do the rest of my order operations. I can subtract 8 on both sides first, and I'll get 28 here equals negative 16x. Cancel out those 8s. And my last step, I can divide by negative 16 to get rid of that. And negative 16, what I'll get is I'll get x equals negative 28 over 16, which is negative 4, which is negative 14 over 8, which reduces to negative 7 over 4. Combining like terms, this is another one. You do combining like terms is when you have like terms on the same side of the equal sign. The terms have to be on the same side. They can't cross the equal sign. So I have two cases here. One's correct, one's incorrect. So the correct one's on the left. I would combine the 5m and the 2m. They are on the same side of the equal sign. This is like a barrier we can't cross when we're combining. So the 5m plus a 2m combines to 7m minus 23. And on the right I have equals 5. Now what I can do is I can solve for the rest of that by adding 23 and doing the rest. So add 23 to both sides, and then you'll cancel out that. You'll get 7m equals 28, and then divide both sides by 7 because I want to isolate that m. Dividing by 7, these will cancel, and I'm going to get m equals 4. Now the incorrect way, I see I have a 3x and 2x. These are like terms, but I cannot combine them because they're on different sides of the equal sign. We cannot do this. This is incorrect. I can't just combine that to 5x equals negative 5. This is incorrect. Don't do it that way. That's bad. Alright, let's try the next one. So we're going to variables to one side. So what does this one mean? We want to subtract or add to eliminate variables and put them on one side. So we don't want to have variables on both sides of the equal sign. That's not good. We just want to have one variable. We can't have two different x's. We just want one of them, and we want to get them to one side. So we have to subtract or add one of them to eliminate variables on one side of the equation. So I'll show you how to do this. The first way is the correct way. So if I have 3x equals 2x minus 5, I have an x on the left and right. I can't combine like terms here because they're on different sides of the equal sign. But I don't like having a left and an x on both sides, so I get rid of one. And you can choose to get rid of either one. I'm going to get rid of the 2x. Alright, so if I subtract 2x on both sides, these 2x's will cancel. I'm left with negative 5 on the right. 3 minus 2x is going to be 1x, or just x. So my answer is x equals negative 5. And that's it. So incorrect way, I have a 5m and a 2m, but if I said, to eliminate one, if I just tried to do something like subtracting 2m and subtracting 2m, can't do that because it has to be subtracting on different sides of the equation. These are on the same side, so you don't do this. This would be a combining like terms problem, not a moving variables to one side. Alright, let's try some practice. So pause the video. Alright, let's try this out. So we have that list of steps, right? Well, which one do you think we can do here? I'm looking at this equation, I go, I have variables on both sides of the equal sign, so I want to eliminate one. I'm going to choose to either eliminate the 3x or 5. The smaller one's usually easier to handle, so minus 3x on both sides. But you could have chose to do the subtract the 5x. So what happens when I do that? The 3x's cancel. I get 4 equals 5 minus 3 is 2x minus 10. And my next step is I want to isolate this x, so I have a 2 times x and a minus 10. Well, according to reverse operations, I want to add and subtract first, so I will add 10 to both sides first. It cancels out the 10, I get 14 equals 2x. And the last step, I want to get that x by itself, so I will divide by 2. 2's cancel, I get x equals 7. Let's check that answer out. So if I plug that in, I get 3 times 7 plus 4 equals 5 times 7 plus, or not plus, minus 10. So 3 times 7 is going to be 21 plus 4 equals 5 times 7 is 35 minus 10. 21 plus 4 is 25. 35 minus 10 is 25. Those match, so that checks out. Try another one. Pause the video. 2, 1. Okay, let's answer this. So the first thing, I have a number 5 times something in parentheses and 7 times that. I'm going to be distributing both of these. So distributing the 5 to both of those and 7 to both of these. Alright, so that becomes 5 times y, or 5y, minus 5 times negative 4, 20, equals 7 times 2 is going to be 14y. 7 times 1 is plus 7. Now, I have y's on both sides of the equations. I don't like that. I want to get rid of one of them, so I'll get rid of either the 5y or the 14y. I'll choose the 5y because it's smaller. Doesn't matter though. So I'll cancel these. I get negative 20 equals 14 minus 5 is 9y plus 7. And the next thing, to isolate the y, it's either get rid of this 9 times y or the plus 7. And I want to get rid of add subtract first, so I'm going to subtract 7 first. So these will cancel. I get 9y equals negative 27. And the last step, I get rid of that 9. I'm going to divide by 9 on both sides. And these cancel. I get y equals negative 3. Let's check that answer to check that work. So I get 5 times negative 3 minus 4 equals 7 times 2 times negative 3 plus 1. Okay, so negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. So it's 5 times negative 7 equals 7 times negative 6 plus 1. Well, that becomes 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. And 6 plus 1 is going to be 7 times negative 5. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. And negative 35 equals negative 35. That checks out. Let's do the next one. Pause the video. Alright, so the first thing I check, okay, no distributing, no, but my next thing, combining like terms. I got two p's. And they're both on the same side of the equal sign. They're both on the left side. We're not crossing, right? So we combine the p's, so I have 15p minus 12 equals 59. My next step, isolate this p. I'm going to add or subtract. I will add 12 to both sides. So these 12s cancel. I get 15p equals 6171. And then I want to isolate that p, so I will divide by 15 on both sides. And these 15s cancel. I get p equals 71 15ths. I can just leave it like that. I don't think that reduces. Last one. Pause the video. Okay, this is a little different. I got fractions here. But the first thing is we want to combine like terms here. So I got a fraction of 2 7ths and 3 14ths. We'll convert them to the same denominator. To do that, 7 and 14, I just got to multiply this left one by 2 over 2. So now that fraction changes to 4m over 14 plus 3m over 14 equals 1. And when they have the same denominator, I can combine them. So I have 4m's plus 3m's. That combines to 7m's over 14 equals 1. Let's see. The next thing, what's nice about that fraction? Well, before we reduce, we want to isolate the m. I don't like to divide by 14, so I'm going to multiply by 14 on both sides. So multiplying both sides by 14. These 14s will cancel. I'm left with 7m equals 1 times 14 is 14. And I got to isolate that m, so I divide by 7 on both sides. And that leaves me with m equals 14 divided by 7 is 2. Let's check our answer. So what I'm going to get 2 times 2 over 7 plus 3 times 2 over 14 equals 1. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4 sevenths, and 3 times 2 is 6 14ths equals 1. Okay, 6 14ths. We got to combine these fractions here. Well, 6 14ths actually can be reduced to divide both by 2. I get 3 sevenths. So I have 4 sevenths plus 3 sevenths equals 1. Well, 4 plus 3 is going to be 7 sevenths equals 1, and that reduces to 1, which equals 1. and that checks out. And that's it.